Good evening. Welcome to Crochet with Lulu. How is everybody doing tonight? It is late at night and I thought I would get on here and do an icicle tutorial while all is quiet except the traffic outside. Okay, I'm going to try to hurry through this. You do your trusty slip knot. Now you're gonna start off with a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm using a small yarn. It's not the size 10. You're probably gonna want to use the size 10 to make most of these, but I wanted to show it with a larger thread so it can be seen a little easier. Okay, I've chained 5. You're going to join with a slip stitch and make a circle. Now you're going to want to tighten this up fairly tight. We are going to do a double crochet, so we are going to chain 3 to start off with. 1, 2, 3. Then we are going to add 2 more stitches and you're going to see why. 1, 2. Those 2 extra stitches are going to come back in here and join this first one to make a picot. And you are going to slip stitch right through there. All that does is just give a little extra effect on your stitches. You're going to do that on one side, and then when we get to the end, we're going to do another one. It will be just a little bit different. So you are going to put 6 more double crochet for a total of 7 with this side. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now in between this set of 7 and the second set of 7 that we put in this ring, we're going to chain 6. Okay? When you do the row, your next row will have 6 on each side, and its middle chains will be 5. So you go down a number. You've got 7 on this side, so your chain stitches will be 6. Does that make sense? You're doing the next number down. 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you are going to put 7 more double crochets in this same space. Let me get me some yarn here. I have this in a ball, but I have fear of it rolling across the floor. Okay, so we need to do 6 more on this side. Need to put 1 more. Now it will start taking shape any moment. Now remember, we put a picot over here. This side the picot is going to be different. We're going to chain 2 and we're going to turn our work, and we are going to go back in that same top stitch, and we're going to slip stitch to that chain 6. A slip stitch is just going into the top of the stitches, pulling through and pulling through again, because we need to be in that space, the chain 6 space, because that's where our next level will be. Now we still need to be in here. We've done our last double crochet with the slip stitch, so we still need to be in that chain 6, so we just slip stitch right inside that space. Now we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, pinch that stitch, 4, 5, because this is where you're going to make the picot back into that stitch. And you kind of have to pinch it and hold it, and then you just kind of want to tighten that stitch down a little bit. You are going to put 5 more double crochets. This counted as your first one, and we need a total of 6 on each side. So we do 5 more. Okay, that's a total of 6 double crochet. Now because our next double crochets, our next level will be 5 on each side, we're going to put a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now remember, we put 7 on each side here, but this level was 6, so we done a chain ring of 6. This one is going to have 6 double crochets on each side, but our next one will be 5. And I know it's not making much sense, but eventually it will. Okay, so we've done our picot over here, so we're going to do 6 double crochet to end this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now at the end of that 6, we're going to do the 2 stitches, and that's going to make our picot on this side. So we're going to go right back in the top of this chain and do a slip stitch. Now we want to pull that chain, that thread, really tight, because we want to go back in there, and we don't want it to be really, really loose when we finish. And if you will bear with me just one moment and let me plug in my phone so that my battery does not go down, I hope. Okay, now again, every row we need to slip stitch back into this space. So we've put our first picot and our first slip stitch, and you're going to want to pull that fairly tight. Just give yourself enough room to make it back in that slip stitch all the way into that ring. I'm so sorry, I have gotten the camera off. All we're doing right here is we done our picot, and then we are slip stitching just like we did in the row before. And I do apologize, I hit the camera when I was fixing the cord on it. We slip stitch in this one, and then we still need to be in this space. So we are going to slip stitch right in there. And then on this row, we're going to do 5 double crochets, chain 4, 5 double crochets. So there's our third chain. Now remember, this picot is a little different than the other one. We actually have to go back into our chain stitches on this one. If you don't want to do the picots, you don't have to do the picots. It kind of gives a little bit of an extra effect, as you can see, but you don't have to do the picots. It's not that big of an important part of the pattern. So we need a total of 5 double crochets, chain 4, 5 double crochets. And you have to excuse some of my thread. Some of it, when I purchased it, for whatever reason, was knotted. So I'll have to go back and correct that later. But I'm just going to continue on. We do chain 4. Because our next row, remember, will have 4 double crochets on each side of the chain. So we make 5 more double crochets. And I'll go slower with the slip stitching this time so you can see exactly. Okay, we finished this one out. Remember, this one had 7 on each side. This one had 6. This one has 5. So we're going to chain 2. Now we're going to turn our icicle. And please forgive this mesh right here. I'll have to correct that later. I'm just not going to correct it now. We chain 2 extra stitches, and we're going to go right back in. See that space right there at the top of that double crochet? We're going to go right in there, pull through, and pull through that loop. Then we're going to slip stitch into the next one. We're not taking anything but the chain that's on our hook. We're going to go into the top of that stitch, pull the yarn through, and pull it through again. Okay, go into the top of that stitch, pull the thread through, and pull it through again. Go into the top of this last double crochet on this side, pull through, and pull through again. The reason we do that is because we always have to get back to this ring. Now we are going to go in here and do 4 double crochets, chain 3, I do apologize. We still have 1 more slip stitch to make. I got ahead of myself, didn't I? And it didn't work out. We chain 3. I'm not going to do the picot this time. I'm going to let you see how it looks without the picot, and then you can decide if that's what you want. Here we done 5 double crochets. Our next one we're going to do 4. 2, 3, 4. Sometimes I get just a little twisted there. 4. Now we're going to do a chain 3 because we don't want our loop to be too big when we do our 3 double crochets on each side. I know it kind of doesn't make sense, but it will on down the icicle because, see, now we filled up our ring fairly well with our next row of stitches. If we kept putting a large chain in here, your icicle's not going to hang as pretty and it's not going to look as pretty. And please, again, I apologize for that thread. Okay, we are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to put 4 more double crochet in this same ring. 1, 2, 3, 4. And remember, I'm not going to do the picots from now on out, and let you decide if you like them with the picot. I'm fine either way. But you will have to make another chain to get up long enough to go back into this stitch to make your slip stitch. And you slip stitch all the way till you get back to this space here. That keeps us from having to single crochet and make this thicker on one side versus the other. We're basically just pulling the thread through. We're making a small chain on the top, but it's not a big chain. And we still need one more single or slip stitch. Excuse me, tonight my tongue seems to be tied. Okay, we chain 3. And we need 2 more double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. So we have our 3 on this side. We're going to chain 2 because our next set of icicles will be 2 on each side. Do 3 more on this side. And then we chain the 1 to just turn us back. We turn our icicle. We go back into the top of that chain, that double crochet that we just done, and we're going to slip stitch to get back to that chain. Two, 3. And then we slip stitch to get into the center ring. Now we done 4 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets. This one we're going to do 2 double crochets, so we do a chain of 3 to make our first double crochet. We do 1 more, and we chain 1. Because our next 2 rows we're going down. And I know it kind of seems a little strange because we're going on down past the 1, but you'll see why it's important to do this next row. Okay, we've done our 2, so we do our chain to get back to the center ring. This next row kind of sets the stage for the 1 double crochet, and you'll see why it's important. We still need to be in this center space, and we are going to do 1 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet, and make sure that set of stitches is very, very tight. We chain 1, and we need to be right back in the center of that. So we have 1 stitch here to go through, and then we have to get into that center ring for our final stitch. So we are now on our final stitch. We chain 3. Now I am going to do a picot on this one because it just makes it look pretty. Go back into that 3rd one, slip stitch, I can find the thread. And you have finished your icicle. Now, if you have beads, and I don't have my beads handy, I've got them put up so that two little fur children won't get them. You have finished your icicle. Like I said, if you want to get beads and put in this one right here, I'm going to go ahead and, if I can remember where I laid my scissors. Now I'm just going to let that be. I'm not going to try to work with it and fix it. I'm just going to let that be because it is the final stitch. Now, I like to stiffen mine with Elmer's glue. I think Elmer's glue makes it look very, very pretty, and it doesn't make a big mess. But this is your snowflake. You can put a bead down here if you put a bead right in there, and then you can just tie it off. It makes it really pretty. Or if you just want to leave it, and I'm going to go ahead and snip my thread. You're going to want to get as close to that as you can without cutting into it. And then when you put your glue on there, it's not going to go anywhere. But there is your first. See, it looks just fine without the picots. The only other time you really want to use the picot is on the bottom, and that just gives it a little bit more definition. You don't have to do any of the picots up here. Now, I can leave this. If I had left a longer tail, I could have left that and just tied it around and made a hook. And I still could. But all you want to do at this point, really, is you need a larger string to tie a knot in so that you can have a little room back here for your, this will be to hang on your tree or on your bunting if you want to make bunting with this. You know, it's very, very pretty. And I'm just trying to see here. I am working around, I have my phone on the camera holder. So I'm kind of working at, sometimes I feel like I'm in a blind spot. Now you have your string to hang on your tree or your bunting. But there's your icicle. These are so very easy to make, and you'll love them. And especially once you put the Elmer's glue on it to make it a little stiffer, you don't have to put the picots on it. I prefer it without the picot myself. I really do. But I do it sometimes just to show what it can look like. But see, here's without the picots. And we just made that little knot in the end. So it really looks just as good without. But here's your first icicle. And I hope that you'll go back and start this from the beginning. And I need to weave in that little, oh, no, that's part of that string. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. I've tightened it down. Hope you'll enjoy making these. I love making the icicles. And I hope you'll go back, rewind it, go back and and watch it from the beginning and make more. They're very quick. You've seen how quick it was if I hadn't been trying to talk in between stitches. And if a smaller hook makes the smaller ones, and they are gorgeous. But when you stiffen them, you kind of want those two stitches to stay fairly close together. And I hope you'll join me next time for another tutorial. Please hit the like, subscribe, and share. Thank you. Come back and see Crochet with Lulu again. Bye-bye.